Yeah, hold on a sec. This is Yuki, your Heiress Generation View Elf, and today I'm going to talk about manhwas. And just to be clear, actually I read a lot of shoujo, josei manhwa with an additional genre, such as historical, modern, high school, trauma, drama, complex relationships, ones that include really serious social issues. So please look forward to more videos regarding the manhwas I've read so far. And the ones I will focus on today are manhwas that have pink-haired, daring, strong heroines, and also that have really special stories. So the first one I would like to recommend today is called Flirting with the Villain's Dad. And it has, as far as I know, 140 chapters. It may have more for the reasons I stated before. And the story is revolving around, I'm stuck 20 years before the main plot, and everyone in my generation ends up typically dead. Her parents, dead. Me, dead. The villain's dad, called King Iridian, dead. I just need to prevent the villain from being born. Time to break out some seduction schemes and flirt like my life depends on it. So, I think this manhwa was really extra and really funny. And one of the moments I always keep remembering whenever I think about it is when she's running through the garden and she's like screaming, "Father, wait for me!" And it's kind of really, she really goes to such extremes. And you're like thinking, I would never ever be able to pull that because it's so embarrassing. But she's really desperate. She really needs it to work. And I highly recommend this manhwa, and I guarantee they will have a lot of laughter. Next recommendation I would like to give you is called Stepmother Marchen, and it has 137 chapters. And it is speaking about, they called her the Iron Widow. When her husband died, he left her to manage not only his vast holdings, but also his 4 children. Young and inexperienced, Shuri nonetheless tried her best to raise them, despite their bitter attitude toward her. She's finally free to live her life as she wants, when her eldest son marries, only to find herself reverted back mysteriously to 7 years ago during her husband's funeral. Will Shuri be able this time to get a second chance at happiness? We will see. So, another additional information I would like to give you is that Shuri is barely 2 years older than her oldest stepson, which is kind of really unusual setting. And another thing I would like to tell fans who want to try this series, please don't get into it with an ethnocentric or Eurocentric approach, because every single story or book or novel written out there is not all done for the 21st century type audience. It's something coming from historical old times, medieval, whatever it is, or maybe different cultural backgrounds. And it's either you take it the way it is, or you just accept it eventually. Otherwise, you'll not be able to enjoy it. This is the first point I would like to make. The second one, you will really understand throughout the series that Shuri's husband had really his reasons for marrying her, although there was such a huge age gap between them. And also, another point I really loved about this series is the fact that they didn't only show things from the Shuri's POV, but also from each one of her sons or children perspective. And that's something I really enjoyed, because like between their past life and their current life, how things have changed in their mind, why they were hateful toward her, why they were so mean, and how she herself evolved and changed her own behavior. I think that was extremely important. And I don't know how I can express further my attachment to this particular series, but I think it was very heartwarming, and seeing all those small milestones she reached through her hard work and through her standing by her children's side, and them, like evolving from just little shits to more mature children and supportive characters. I think that was a really big achievement. So I hope that you give it a chance and that you enjoy it. The ship I had in my mind. I think I hope you agree with me about this ship, but I know in the series a lot of fans have some really unusual and controversial ships too. So it's up to you who you want to ship her with. Yeah, I know you would say she's married already. Why would you think about shippings? Well, let's leave that part for when you are reading it. The Tyrant's only Perfumer. and it has 90 chapters so far. Knowing that death lies before her, if she continues down the path that the real NL has been going toward, she quickly breaks up with the Duke Cedric Evans, who is not only the protagonist of the novel, but a man who is cursed with a condition which causes him to become bloodthirsty when he does not smell a specific scent constantly. However, Cedric, who had been forced to date Ariel due to her status as his personal perfumer, suddenly seems reluctant to distance himself from her. Just what is wrong with this man? And how will this change the events of the novel? Will Ariel be able to live her life she wants? To clarify, there is probably a point you have noticed here in this summary, is that sometimes translators change the names of the character, even in the same series, even on the same website. This is not unusual, this is not a mistake, it's something they actually do quite often. Either because the translation team had changed it, or sometimes because even the same translation team, throughout their work, they decide that based on the Korean or the Chinese name that exists in all the original series, that the pronunciation in the English version should be different. And so with this kind of opinion in mind, sometimes you find out the same character has 2 or 3 names on the same series. It's not a mistake, just please adopt whichever version you feel personally comfortable with. This is my personal advice. The second one, this is a bit of, let's say, typical plot where the male lead basically gets stuck on the heroine because, like, I'm not interested in you, I don't care about you. And when she decides to literally divorce him and move on from her, that kind of toxic relationship, it's like, how dare you, like, give up on me? How dare you get away from me? Am I not enough? Am I not good enough for somebody like you? And then he starts getting attached and he starts acting like a puppy, and then the series becomes kind of predictable a bit at that point. But like I said, this is just my personal opinion. Please don't get influenced by it that much. And just try it and see if it's something that you would enjoy. The Villainess Wants a Divorce. 123 chapters so far. And it's another series about some people who just want to divorce. Again, we all hate the greedy villains hell-bent on sabotage. Enter Camellia Easter, the awful secondary villainess of the romance I'm reading, who trapped the prince in a marriage. I didn't shed a tear when her head flew away. But now, I'm Camellia. I got to place this smart and convince him to divorce me. Still between the prince, the empress, and the heroine, the second prince, my terrible health, this story is getting unpredictable. Will I survive, after all? So this is a summary of this story, the reasons why you might be wanting to read this story. It's the very typical prototype of a divorce historical type of manhwa, where suddenly the prince have to pay attention, suddenly the heroine is wrapped up in some schemes of assassination and of, like being a situation of misunderstood, where she ends up looking unwillingly badly toward others, and where she has to discover who's swimming against her, and then the prince, usually our black-haired, red eyes type prince, kind of ends up intervening, and sometimes he comes in against her, but then when he starts falling deeper in love with her, then he starts being on her side. Sometimes you're just looking for the type of manhwa, and you're like, where can I find something extra cheesy and predictable and fun to read, just to feel something? And this is that kind of recommendation. Yeah, just go ahead and read it. So if you read this one, then I feel like you will not need to read some other 500 manhwas out there, because the moment you start them, you're like, I feel like I know this already. Yeah, so this is the main reason why I would try this one. Now, I will go ahead and tell you about the Heiress Double Life, which has 78 chapters so far. And I think for me, the beginning of this particular manhwa was really impactful because I didn't expect it. I mean, I think I was in for a really predictable plot, but it turned out unpredictable on many fronts, especially in the beginning. Rixit van Hexen, prince of the Hexen Empire and feared defender of the border, wants to become an emperor. But because of his brain that doesn't match his body, he seeks the help of Viper, a notorious swindler and master of disguise. With her life on the line, the Viper must now pull off the greatest scam while posing as Rixit Heiress. Will the unlikely duo succeed? Will they end up being deceived themselves? Well, let's see. So, to begin with, I think the most important part is how her as a reincarnated heroine, she was in her past life a spy, like a really talented spy. She had multiple abilities and talents and, knowledge. So she definitely nailed it. And when she came to this, other world where she's supposed to start over her life, instead of trying to live an honest life, she decided to use her pre-existing skills in order to survive. Because she doesn't know how to live an honest life. Simply put, she doesn't know how to do a regular desk job or farming job or sending letters or anything. She just know how to swindle people. And by swindling people, she can live the life of her dreams. She can earn a lot of money, dress up the way she wants, eat the food that she wants, and be around a lot of flashy, beautiful people. And that's what she herself also wanted in this life too. So the title of the manhwa I would like to introduce to you now is called Another Typical Fantasy Romance. It has 90 chapters. Given another shot at happiness, Litera is now determined to avoid the mistakes of her previous life. Starting by meeting the sweet and caring Grand Duke, she spent years exchanging letters with another typical female lead with another typical duke, promised to wed. Will this story go the typical path we all expect? So, regarding reasons why you should be reading another typical fantasy romance manhwa, to start with, the setting was kind of really interesting because she got reincarnated 7 times, and I think this was her 7th life. And instead of going through all the story politics and red flags and potential dangerous settings, she was like, you know what, I'm gonna leave everything behind and then I'm going to be together with my best friend. The thing about him is that throughout the year that she was emailing with him or she was sending these letters, his handwriting is extremely beautiful. His answers are really so eloquent and so well organized, and he knows very much well what to tell her, like how to respond to her, how to respond to her worries, the challenges that she goes through, and especially how to make her feel better. And I think this is really valuable in itself, and that's what made her think, like, instead of complicating my life, let me just go meet this guy and maybe get married to him if possible and get like this happy ending, happy life. But the thing that she didn't know about him is that he had this really major secret, is that he have this really huge scar on his face and a lot of like smaller scars all around his body. So people are really scared of him, and I think that people generally have this kind of assumptions about others who have facial differences. Like they start making this really horrible rumors and prejudices about them. And it doesn't matter if the person themselves, they explain themselves or they are really nice or understanding or open for questions. These things still would happen regardless. And this particular manhwa reminds me a lot of another one called Bring the Love, and I'm gonna speak about it another time. But aside from all of that, I think another important feature for me was the fact that he himself, the male protagonist, had really problem with self-confidence. And he was almost 100% sure that the female lead is gonna reject him and she's not gonna actually, when she sees him, gonna take away her offer. So that's the attitude that she had in mind in the beginning. And she herself, she was a very fair woman and she tried to see him for who he really is. And she actually discovered that there is more about him than whatever she knew for the past year. And I think that was very cute and very, how should I describe it? I think that's the kind of attitude that a lot of people should adopt in real life. Hopefully, it's the kind of manhwa that you learn from it. Not to be judgmental or not assume things about others or assume they would understand things the way you would, because people are different and it's normal, it's expected. So I think there is a lot to learn from this manhwa, and I really still think it's one of those really special artworks that even though you read like hundreds, thousands of others after it, you would still keep remembering it for a long time. This is Anne Novius' Fraudulent Marriage. It has 107 chapters so far. The country Sofan had been destroyed by the Empire. The sole daughter of a Count family, Leylin Efran, had decided to find a husband to have a 1-year contract marriage with. In the middle of her quest, a young and dashing man appeared before. Leylin was convinced this is the right man. But is he truly the answer to Leylin's perilous situation? So this is again another manhwa where we have got a black-haired, red eyes baby. And in case you are in love with them, just go ahead and read it, but ask me the summary. But in case you want still to hear the story, basically, I think what really attracted me to this story is that she literally picked this guy because of his looks. She admits to it. She knows nothing about it. And like, there are hundreds, thousands of hints that he's a horrible killer. But she's like, it doesn't matter. As long as he's nice to me, that's all what I need. Literally, this is her attitude. Liam. I know it's hard to believe. He comes back home, drenched in blood. He smells like he killed 100 people. She's perfectly okay with it. The final manhwa I would like to introduce to you today is called This Girl Is a Little Wild. And it has around 50 chapters, and I think it's currently on hiatus. But, or maybe it was dropped by translators. I'm not 100% sure. But aside from all of that, even if you read just the 50 chapters available, you will greatly enjoy it. And I'll explain now why. After he was defeated, the Demon King used the last of his strength to trap the captain of the Holy Knights into the body of a weak girl. However, the captain was a girl to begin with. So tired of her former life and unable to return to her former body, she decides to live a luxurious life inside the body of the noble daughter she's trapped in. However, her new family puts her in danger, so she tries to go to the church to prove her identity. In order to do so, she ultimately becomes engaged to the captain of the special task force. Will she be able to prove her identity and still live in an ordinary life? What will happen to her relationship with her fiancé? And is there something more to this new life she received? So, this is the summary as it has been presented in several websites. And the point I'd like to make here, I think what really made me think this manhwa is really funny is the gap way between her personality as a really ferocious, extremely strong, agile knight who's used to the warfare and to slaying the heads of hundreds of people in the same time without backing up, and her being trapped in the body of a really weak girl. And for her to accept her new situation, it's not easy at all. Like, she literally sometimes put herself in these really difficult situations, assuming that she still has her old body. But trying on to take action becomes really funny because her new body is extremely weak. Not even talking about being athletic, like just managing daily life chores is so tiring for her. And she gets like extreme fatigue very easily. And in addition, she realizes her life is being targeted. So what can she do? Well, getting married is one way to solve this problem. But is it really the ultimate solution? And will there be any kind of romance going on? That's a good question because even I am still wondering about it. I mean, I remember the chemistry between her and the main lead is so good in the sense that he knows her former self, he knows how she thinks, he really respects her, really follow her decision no matter how crazy they might look like. But at the same time, you are thinking, she's not anymore the really strong, crazy captain she was. She's just a frail girl, so how can she utter such words? How can she make such big decisions? I think it's up to you. So thank you. Bye-bye.